Good morning. My name is Sebastian Rangel. I'm going to talk about my research proposal. It's about artificial intelligence, next generation voice frauds. The motivation of this research proposal, it's the increase of AI employment on multiple applications, such as customer service. Reference 4 actually talks about how AI has been implemented in this field. This article, it's called Understanding AI Calls Analytics. And then the top right of this slide, we have a figure from artificial intelligence and its role in the near future. This figure actually shows how artificial intelligence is going to be implemented in several fields and how everything's going to be connected. Therefore, AI is going to be a powerful tool. If it falls in the wrong hands, it's going to be dangerous. The other motivations is the 68.4 million Americans that have been victims of phone scams in 2022. Actually, in the bottom right of this slide, we can actually see a graph on how many Americans and how much money Americans have lost through the years in phone scams. Then another motivation is the risk of AI involvement on phone scams to gain money and capture personal information. And then we have how society's vulnerability to stress calls from acquaintances and the tools used by AI on phone scams, such as public information, social media profiles, and fake audio. A really good example of this issue or this arising issue, it's how criminals use AI to impersonate an executive for financial gain. And reference 7, an article called Fraudsters Use AI to Mimic CEO's Voice in an Unusual Cybercrime Case, actually talks about the steps and the scenarios of a real life problem or real life case where cybercrime was committed by using AI and asking for money as he was a CEO. So definitely a really good example of this issue. The purpose of this research proposal, it's divided in 5 pillars. First, understanding. The reason we want to understand the reasons why people fall for AI voice generated scams, and a reference to an article called Artificial Intelligence Enabled Deepfake Technology, the emergence of a new threat, talks about how AI is actually used to impersonate other people, which is actually really dangerous, and it's going to make our phone scans more believable, and definitely it's going to increase the money lost by Americans per year if we don't do anything about it. Then we'll have the consequence, the outcomes of AI scams in popular fields such as medicine, business, finance, banking, and cybersecurity. And in reference 3 talks about how AI is implemented in these fields. This article is called Artificial Intelligence Risks and Benefits, and it's a purpose because we would like to understand the consequence that AI scams or next generation scams are going to have in this field, if we're going to be able to still use AI to continue advancing, or if there's going to be a distrust on AI if it falls under the wrong hands. It makes you wonder if AI is going to have some limitations in the near future. The third pillar or third purpose, it will be targets. We want to identify the demographics of most vulnerable individuals. Then 4, consciousness. Definitely want to promote the awareness of AI boost frauds and next generation scams so society can prepare for them. And then finally, resolution. Hopefully we can propose a solution or a future study to fight against AI scams or next generation scams. For this research proposal, the research gap is limited understanding of next generation scams, lack of data on society's susceptibility to AI scams, insufficient data on patterns shown by AI voice scams victims, and limited data on frequency and effectiveness of AI scams. AI scams is definitely something relatively new. Therefore, there's a lot of data that still needs to be gathered and a lot of studies that still need to be completed in order to have a whole understanding of this issue. The research question, it's what are the behavioral patterns and living situations for the target population of AI voice generated scam victims? And the objective of this research is to identify the behavior of scam victims susceptible of giving up information, identify the behavior of individuals able to notice the scam, compare the data of the successful and unsuccessful scam, distinguish the demographics of AI scam targets, and introduce data for future AI and scam studies. Our experiment methodology is actually separated in two stages. The first one is scenario simulation. For this one, we'll do a selection of a diverse pool of 50 individuals, and we would like to leverage information that's already available, such as reference 9, which is an article called Timing and Selection Effects Within a Psychology Subject Pool, Personality and Sex Matter. And the reason why we want to leverage this information is to be able to identify and select individuals that will validate the data that will collect. Then we'll expose each individual to personalized AI scams. And reference 10 is actually an article called An Analysis of a Scam Baiting Calls, Identifying and Extracting Scam Stages and Scripts. And we want to use this article to create our scripts and make sure that we are making accurate assumptions and we're creating accurate simulations that are able to give us really good data. Lastly, we want to log and analyze the behaviors and patterns of the situations to be able to identify the breakpoints or decision points where victims were susceptible. At the bottom of the slide, we have a diagram that shows the two scenarios that we want to study. The first scenario, it's acquaintances asking for money in a distress call. This call is going to be made by a close relative or a colleague. And the second scenario, it's someone asking for ransom money for an acquaintance. So, and it's going to be asking for money for either a close relative or a colleague. And the purpose what we're separating these two scenarios is to identify if it makes a difference of who is asking the money and who is asking for the money, and also the relationship between the person for who the money is being asked for. Finally, the second stage of the experiment, it's the survey. We want to do an experiment, a post-experiment questionnaire, and we have decided to use data already available as well. Reference 5, it's an article about questionnaire designing for a survey, and the idea is to collect accurate information that help us evolve or make better our experiment. So there's going to have questions such as, were they able to identify AI speaker? Were they able to identify AI as the speaker? What was the word or phrase that either convinced them or threw them off? Does it make a difference if it's a relative asking for money or someone asking for ransom? Does the relationship for who the money is for makes a difference? Would you consider asking personal questions to people asking for money to validate the source of the call? What actions would you take after an AI scam? Would you be able to work with AI after being the victim of a next generation scam? What will have made the experiment or simulation more realistic? And the end goal of this is to understand the reaction and the behavior of those victims towards AI, and understand if this could become a real problem in the future, or if there's a quick solution that we can implement right away. Here are my 10 references. They have been, you can actually see them through the slides. So if you're curious about a specific reference, you can actually go back to the slides and come back here and be able to identify them. Thank you very much.